know if you D up Caitlin Clark and you do something good, you're going to be on TV. So all that goes up.
Caitlin Clark's not a player. Caitlin Clark is not relevant to this. Caitlin Clark is a number.
We want your money, but we don't want you. Which one is it?
Just getting the year under my belt was the best thing for me. You understand how the league works, you know what to expect, everything like that. But at the same time,
just when fans thought the WNBA All-Star Weekend was going to be a celebration of talent, unity, and progress, it turned into an absolute disaster the moment Kelsey Plum opened her mouth and sent the entire league into chaos, because with one smug comment and a forced laugh, she didn't just ruin the vibe, she exposed a level of jealousy and division that fans had only suspected until now. And the worst part is she didn't even need to name Caitlin Clark directly because the message was clear. This wasn't about fair pay. It was about taking a shot at the one woman who's actually carrying the league on her back. And while Caitlin stayed quiet at first, choosing not to stoop down to the pettiness on live television, her silent response just flipped the entire narrative and humiliated Kelsey Plum without saying more than 6 words. And now fans across the country are finally waking up to the truth. This isn't a league united for progress. This is a stage full of insecure athletes scrambling for relevance while one rookie continues to break records, sell out arenas, and do it all while getting attacked from her own locker room. And if you thought this drama was over, just wait until you hear what Caitlin posted under Kelsey's photo, because the queen of quiet comebacks just played the biggest power move we've seen all season. So here's exactly how it started during the post-game press conference after what should have been a positive all-star showcase. Kelsey Plum, sitting in front of reporters with all eyes on her, suddenly decided to pivot from celebration to confrontation and with a smirk said, not to tattletale, but 0 members of Team Clark were present this morning. And just like that, the air was sucked out of the room, the smiles froze, and even her teammate Sabrina Ionescu gave her that look like, girl, what are you doing? Because let's be honest, calling out an entire group of players, especially the team led by the league's biggest superstar, wasn't just petty. It was calculated, and the second those words left her mouth, the press knew they had their headline, social media lit up, fans started choosing sides. And what should have been a unifying message about equal pay and solidarity turned into a finger-pointing circus, and Caitlin Clark, who was literally sidelined with an injury, minding her business and recovering off the court, suddenly became the epicenter of a controversy she had absolutely nothing to do with. And if that doesn't scream setup or jealousy, I don't know what does. Now here's where things got really messy because, while the league and the media pretended this shirt protest was a spontaneous show of solidarity, the truth started leaking out fast. And turns out the whole thing was pre-planned in a private meeting that very morning. And guess who was never informed or invited? That's right, Team Caitlin Clark, the group tied to the one athlete responsible for the WNBA's recent surge in ratings, merchandise sales, and global attention, completely left in the dark about a movement that was supposed to represent all players. And let's not pretend that was an accident, because if you're organizing a protest for fair pay and awareness, why would you exclude the one person whose name brings millions of eyeballs to the league in the first place, unless you were trying to make a statement not to the league, not to the fans, but to Caitlin herself? And instead of owning up to it or offering a real explanation, Kelsey doubled down in front of the cameras and said it anyway, turning what could have been a powerful, historic moment into a high school cafeteria moment that made the WNBA look unprofessional, divided, and embarrassingly petty. And what makes it even worse is that the entire protest, the shirts, the messaging, the timing, it all started to unravel the moment people realized who wasn't included, because this wasn't just some random oversight. It was the deliberate omission of the league's most valuable player. And fans immediately started calling it out, questioning how the WNBA could promote unity while completely blindsiding the face of the franchise. And then Kelsey Plum, instead of defusing the tension, casually tried to cover it all up by saying she was just joking, just making the moment light. But there was nothing funny about what she did, especially when the cameras captured Sabrina Ionescu's face right after the comment. Her eyes went wide, her smile dropped, and you could see she wanted no part of the mess Plum had just unleashed, because even Sabrina, who's been one of the more vocal stars in the league, knew this would blow up, and she was right, because fans instantly turned this into a firestorm. And while Kelsey laughed it off, the internet didn't, because nobody believes it was a joke. And everybody saw it for what it really was, a poorly disguised attempt to embarrass Caitlin Clark on live television. And now Kelsey's being dragged across social media while Caitlin didn't even have to lift a finger to win the moment. So while Kelsey Plum was busy trying to throw subtle jabs under the mask of humor, Caitlin Clark was out at the spotlight completely, not even dressed for the game, not in the locker room, not on the court, because she was literally recovering from a groin injury, and still somehow she became the lightning rod for the league's tension. And you have to ask yourself, why her? Why target the one player who wasn't even there to defend herself? Unless it's about something deeper. And let's be real, this wasn't about activism or accountability. This was about envy. Because no matter how much these WNBA players yell about pay equity and media coverage, they all know deep down that Caitlin Clark is the reason those cameras are even in the room. She's the reason fans are buying tickets. She's the reason the WNBA is trending. And yet, instead of protecting the league's biggest asset, they isolate her, ice her out, and use her name for attention while trying to tear her down at the same time. And that's what makes this so embarrassing, because instead of building something powerful together, Kelsey Plum turned a moment of unity into a billboard for business, and the fans saw right through it. And just when everyone thought Caitlin Clark would stay silent and take the high road forever, she dropped what might be the most savage, subtle, and calculated clapback the WNBA has ever seen, because Kelsey Plum decided to post a photo from All-Star Weekend on her Instagram, probably expecting love, hype, and praise for the protest. But instead, Caitlin slid into the comments with just six words that shut it all down and flipped the entire narrative in her favor. Because all she wrote was, "Thanks for the free Nike ad." And that one line sent the internet into absolute meltdown, because Kelsey Plum is signed with Under Armour and Caitlin Clark is Nike's golden girl. So in trying to shade Caitlin and post herself looking bold and political, Kelsey accidentally handed her biggest competitor a global promo moment for free. And the brilliance of it all, Caitlin didn't scream, didn't tag her, didn't go on a rant. She just typed those words, walked away, and let the whole world connect the dots. Because while everyone else in the league is scrambling for airtime and Instagram likes, Caitlin Clark is playing chess, not checkers. And her numbers, her poise, and her brand awareness just embarrassed every player trying to box her out of the spotlight without even lifting a finger. What happened next was instant and brutal. Social media lit up like wildfire, but not in support of Kelsey Plum. Because instead of being praised for taking a stand, she got roasted for throwing shade at a teammate who wasn't even fit to play. And fans weren't having it. They called her out for being petty, for creating division in a league already struggling for mainstream unity. And what was supposed to be a moment of empowerment got labeled performative, fake, and even desperate. And then came the real wave. NBA legends started chiming in. Journalists exposed the timeline, commentators ripped apart the hypocrisy, and it became crystal clear that everyone knew what Kelsey did wasn't leadership, it was jealousy masked as a mic drop moment. And Caitlin Clark, just by being silent and strategic, came out looking like the only grown-up in the room. Because she didn't have to fire back, didn't have to name names, didn't need a camera. She let her numbers, her brand, and one perfectly timed sentence do all the talking. And that's what separates her from the rest of them. Because while the league keeps trying to treat her like just another rookie, the truth is, she's already the face of women's basketball, whether they like it or not. And if anyone still doubted Caitlin Clark's value to the league, all they had to do was look at what happened the moment she was ruled out of the All-Star game. Because ticket prices didn't just dip, they collapsed, dropping by 50%. Within hours of the news. And that's not speculation, that's cold, hard proof that the WNBA's biggest events lose half their value the moment she steps off the court. And that's not just stardom, that's economic power. That's leverage. That's the kind of impact no marketing campaign, no protest shirt, no media stunt can fake. Because no matter how loud the others yell for respect, the numbers don't lie. and Caitlin Clark is the one keeping this league on life support. So while the rest of the players are busy throwing shade and posting fake unity online, she's the one actually bringing in sponsors, filling arenas, and making people care. And still, instead of protecting her, they sideline her, exclude her, and try to erase her while quietly cashing in on everything she built. But what they don't seem to realize is that if she ever decides she's done, this whole thing crashed overnight, because you can't replace a generational star with petty, backroom politics and bitter Instagram captions. So now we're watching the fallout in real time, because what started as a slick press conference moment for Kelsey Plum has completely backfired. And instead of elevating the pay protest or uniting the league, she exposed the jealousy, the division, and the desperation hiding behind the slogans. And while Caitlin Clark never raised her voice, never clapped back in a press interview, never even named a single person, she still walked away the clear winner, because she reminded everyone that power doesn't need to be loud, it just needs to be undeniable. And here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to say out loud: this league, as it stands right now, is not ready to carry itself without her. And every time they ace her out, mock her, or minimize her contribution, they're only reminding fans who really matters, because the moment she stepped away for one game, the ratings dipped, the headlines shifted, the vibe collapsed, and all the noise in the world couldn't fill the space she left behind. And if WNBA players keep letting jealousy drive the conversation instead of unity, they're not just hurting Caitlin, they're sinking their own ship. So now the WNBA is standing at a crossroads. And the question everyone's asking isn't whether Caitlin Clark is the future of the league that's already been proven, but whether the league itself is smart enough to protect the very thing keeping it alive. Because you can't keep biting the hand that feeds you and expect to grow. You can't shut out the one name that's bringing in record viewership and expect the world to respect your product. And you definitely can't build a legacy by tearing down the only person who's moving the needle, because Caitlin Clark isn't just a player, she's a brand, a movement, a turning point in women's basketball. And the way she handled this entire situation, silent, sharp, and bothered, just proved why she's on another level. So while the others are busy picking fights, making comments, and begging for more attention, Caitlin is stacking endorsement deals, rewriting rookie records, and reminding everyone without even trying that this league is lucky to have her. But if the WNBA doesn't figure it out fast, they won't just lose a player, they'll lose the only spotlight they've got. So let us know in the comments. If you're standing with Team Caitlin, drop an emoji if you see what's really going on. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and stick around, because if you think this was wild, what's coming next is even bigger.